Good morning, good afternoon for those of you joining us from overseas. This is Weekly Quantum World Detangled, Season 4, Episode 4. I am joined by our sponsors IonQ, beautiful background, and my friend Denise Ruffner.
Hi everyone, Denise Ruffner coming to you from Southern California. Love that André has an IonQ background, so kudos to André, and very excited to have our visitor today, Markus Pflitsch from Terra Quantum. So Markus, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. Nice to be joining in this group. I'm Markus Pflitsch. I'm joining in now from Rorschach, which is near Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm the chairman and CEO of Terra Quantum.
And congratulations, Markus, because you might know or you might not know, but this week, last week, maybe the week before, 30 years ago, you graduated from high school, just outside Cologne, Bonn, Wuppertal, and you got the famous Abitur 1.0, which is the best grade you can get in Germany.
Wow, you are really well prepared. That is quite a deep insight. It's true. I didn't know that it is 30 years actually already. So
1991, yeah.
Wow, yeah, it seems to be right. Yeah, and a long time ago, but I have very good remembrance to my school days. Actually, I liked it very much. I liked physics and math actually back then already very much. Yeah.
So you are from that northern part of Germany and studied in Aachen, mathematics and physics. How did that get started? Were you a math nerd in high school already, and was that a clear path for you? Tell us a little bit about growing up and how you ended up in math and physics.
Yeah, actually, I was born in Western Germany, near Cologne, actually. And you know what? I mean, I wanted to study. I was very curious. So not only with science, but also in literature, history, and stuff like this. So I had broad interests. But actually, I read a book. Probably you do know it, from John Gribben. I think In Search of Schrödinger's Cat. And when I was 14, so then it was a brand new book, and I read that, and it made such a impression on me that since then I was really passionate about the quantum space. Yeah, and ultimately I decided then to study physics and math at the University of Technology in Aachen, which I think is a great place, actually, great alma mater. They have close ties with CERN, the European Particle Center in Geneva, and ultimately then I moved over to CERN from Aachen.
And ended up in southern Germany, Munich, Bayern. Seems that everybody in Germany eventually migrates down there. And interestingly, you were the Vorstand, the chairman of the Landschaftspflegeverein. Kind of an agricultural gardening cooperative. Do you have a green thumb? Why did you move to Bayern from beautiful Northwest Germany, and why gardening?
Well, yeah, that was that was kind of my hobby, on my personal interest beside my professional career. Actually, I also I'm very passionate about nature, so I love to hike. I live in the south of Munich. So love to go hiking in the near Alps, and so I love the landscape and protection of the landscape, especially in Bavaria. It's such a beautiful landscape. To preserve that and protect it is also something which I have a high interest in. So I did that for quite some years. Actually, I founded that Verein, that society, and it's now one of the biggest Bavarian nature protection foundations. Yeah.
Wow, very impressive. Before we dig into your physics and quantum ambitions, you had a little bit of an interlude in finance. Finance is my world. It's what I've been doing for 20 years and studied, but I have to say I've rarely seen a resume like yours. You've worked at retail banks, Deutsche Bank and UniCredit. You've worked at family offices, in venture capital, Deutsche Beteiligungsgesellschaft, private equity. You're a finance guy, aren't you?
Yeah, well, actually, back then when I was at CERN, I recognized that was end of the 90s, actually. So I did my, research in quantum field theory, which I love. Since then I'm passionate about quantum. But I then saw all these other colleagues, these real great, and I mean it in a so positive sense. These great nerds or eggheads, which were, and I thought, if you want to really lead the pack here, and you want to do some leading stuff, you have to give your heart. Actually, I think it's like a musician, yeah, to be at the forefront of quantum physics or particle physics. You have to dedicate kind of your soul to it, kind of a 24/7 mission, yeah. And back then I was a young man. I thought, well, am I able and ready to do that? And I thought, well, let's explore something else first. So I spent 20 years kind of pursuing my business career with, as you said, strategy consulting with Boston Consulting Group, and then went into banking and ended up as kind of a corporate finance specialist working in the private equity, venture capital backed industries. But actually then 3 years ago, I thought, well, as I'm still so passionate and followed the quantum space, out of personal interest, I thought it might be a good time now to combine actually kind of my two sides in my brain. So my nerdy quantum side and my corporate finance background to commercialize on quantum tech, because I thought it's a good time, and also a good time in my life actually to do what you're really passionate about.
So in 2018, you founded the Terra Quantum. You're the CEO and chairman. Tell us a little bit more about that process.
I thought, well, I want to tackle the quantum space, and I wanted also to use kind of my network and my finance background, actually also to be able to organize the necessary financing to start a quantum tech startup. And I decided to do that. And as I have a broad interest, I researched the space and carefully composed a portfolio actually of quantum tech applications, which I think have a kind of integrated logic and which are about to be able to be commercialized in the near future, yeah, and not in the distant future, because that is something I was paying much attention to, that those things we do are really have a commercial focus. Yeah, that's probably because of my kind of second half of my brain in my professional career, that I was very much focusing on stuff which you can commercialize, because all that quantum stuff is so tied to academia. Yeah, it's very close to the university system, and I think the value add of a quantum tech startup also is to really migrate that into a commercial space where you can actually also have a good business plan pursuing those projects.
A more than unique and welcome approach to quantum technology. So let's find out more about what Terra Quantum does and with whom. Denise, up to you.
Thanks, André. And first of all, to anybody watching this, please go to the Terra Quantum website. It is, I think, the best website I've seen for a quantum company. It's really remarkable. So Markus, it's beautiful. I love it. Congratulations. I mean, all of us spend a lot of time on our websites, and I think you guys have hit it out of the park. Now,
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
When I look at the projects that your company is doing, it's amazing, right? There are so many different projects, and I don't say that as a negative, but as you said, they're interlocked. And I was wondering, first of all, I'm going to start on cryptography. I see you have a quantum random number generator and quantum cryptography. Can you tell me a little bit more about that business, and maybe a little bit about who your customers are or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much first for the compliment. So with the website, indeed, it kind of represents the company, and therefore it's very nice to hear. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I said. It's a good example. I mean, two of our portfolio projects are, one is a QRNG, so building quantum random number generators, so really in the hardware space, and the other one is in quantum cryptography, so actually developing quantum cryptography solutions, which is mainly software focused. Why do we have them in one portfolio? Because it makes a lot of sense, actually, right? If you build a quantum cryptography solution, you use QRNGs, and if you know about kind of the technical capabilities and what you actually would need to make a quantum cryptography solution work, and the other way around. So there is internal know-how synergies if you pursue both projects in terms of an integrated solution. And that's why, e.g., those two projects are in our portfolio. Actually, by the way, you can also check it out. I mean, one of our subsidiary companies is called QMware. It's a qm-ware.com on the website. And we have our QRNG already in the cloud, so you can get kind of random numbers from that website. But our work in the cryptography space actually is very interesting. Actually, we have, I think, invented something remarkable, which is based on a vulnerability which we found out about. And the vulnerability actually is that we were able to reverse the hash function. This is a mathematically very abstract operation. And I think there's, our experts are really kind of leading the space here, I think, or are belonging to that, fine crowd of a few experts globally who can do that and can judge on it. So if you are able mathematically to reverse the hash function, you will find out that you can actually would be able with our protocol to decipher some of the most, quantum robust quantum algorithms which are out there actually. I mean, we do know, this so far common know-how that that since Peter Shaw, that kind of quantum computers will be able to crack classical encryption, but there were some algorithm groups which we reviewed as quite quantum robust, so to say, also being robust if a quantum computer tries to decipher them. And actually what we found out, e.g. the AES, the Advanced Encryption Standard, is vulnerable by our protocol. And so therefore we discovered that threat actually to the cybersecurity world. I mean, I must add, of course, we will need a quantum computer which is powerful enough, and we don't know yet when we'll have enough qubits to actually execute on that protocol. But the protocol is a protocol which can be executed once you have the quantum computer powerful enough. So therefore, it's a practical threat, right? And actually, I do think that you have to be quantum safe if you deal with confidential data already today. Yeah, this is because you don't know yet actually when there will be quantum computers who are powerful enough, and if they are there, it's too late. So you have to prepare before that. And secondly, there are players in the market, right, who harvest classically encrypted data to decipher them at a later stage with a quantum computer. So therefore, I think as a CTO, you have to be quantum safe today. So that's why quantum cryptography is a very interesting segment. And based on our know-how about that vulnerability, we developed actually a new protocol which is completely quantum safe.
Wow, that's really interesting. But when I look at your website, I feel like you can tell me the same, like a great story about all these different areas of solutions that you're doing. So you're doing metrology and sensors, You talked earlier about quantum computing as a service. Maybe you want to talk about QAAS, that new term.
Yeah, I would love to. If I'm allowed, let me add, as we are solution providers, one more comment on the cryptography side, because I think it's important actually, because what we developed actually is a protocol based on fast quantum key distribution, which actually is an implementable protocol today to actually send a completely quantum safe data from A to B, because it uses the existing optical fiber infrastructure. Yeah? Today's telecom infrastructure we can use to transmit these data. We can actually do that at the same speed as a kind of classical data exchange, 1 gigabit per second. And last but not least, we can do it over very long distances. So we can actually do it up to 40,000 kilometers. So this is massive, right? I mean, if you can cross the Atlantic, that's kind of the holy grail. So that is kind of very interesting work, as it is also focused on delivering a protocol which you can use today, right? Yeah, so you see, I'm excited about what we do. Sorry for being a little bit long here on the cryptography, but jumping to QAAS, Quantum as a Service. Well, I experience when I talk to large corporates, who want to adopt and migrate into the quantum space, the vast majority of corporates want to start with quantum, right? But they sometimes don't know how. I mean, they lack the quantum talent within the organization, and they don't have any hardware, quantum hardware to work on. And I thought, how can you take away kind of those two entry barriers actually for corporates to get started with quantum? So you have to bring both, right? And therefore, we looked at this kind of end-to-end solution, going into a corporate, looking at their use cases, coming in with our quantum algorithm design team to develop a quantum algorithm based on their kind of classical use cases, but then also not only tell them, look, that algorithm is a great quantum algorithm, and in the future, once you have a machine, you can deploy it and get a great benefit. We thought that is not enough, right? And therefore, we actually bring our own machine. It's the QMware platform, and that is, as you know, we are in the NISQ era right now, so the available QPUs are quite noisy and you have to error correct for it, and the number of qubits is limited, and therefore the performance. We are actually working in that current era with virtualized qubits, logical qubits. So we have a machine composed out of classical high-performance computing components, but we compose them in an IP-relevant manner, also how we access the memory and stuff like this. So we have a joint venture with a very experienced high-performance computing boutique. And with them, we created QMware, which virtualizes 40 qubits. So we have 40 qubits without any noise and errors. And with 40 qubits, you can actually do amazing stuff. Yeah. So we are focusing really now on use cases where the deployment of our quantum algorithm on that machine delivers a business advantage already today. And so that was kind of the history why we have developed that end-to-end solution offering.
And in an earlier discussion, we talked about your finance background, and I asked you if you had any finance solutions. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what you're doing in finance.
Yes. Probably let me give you two examples, because it's a fair point. I mean, I'm of course still also interested in the finance space and try to find solutions for the finance space. And they are early adopters, right? I mean, they have kind of massive big data applications, portfolio optimizations, Monte Carlo simulation and stuff like this. So they are early adopters. So it's a good industry to be in as a quantum entrepreneur. And one actually is an application of, or a usage of our quantum as a service offering. We looked at something which is called collateral portfolio optimization. So large investment banks have a large collateral portfolio sitting on their balance sheet. So it's ranging from 400 billion to $1 trillion with the large investment banks. And that is across all their client relationships. They have exposures to various asset classes, e.g. equities, cash, government bonds, and stuff like this. And that has to be optimized in terms of associated risk cost, funding costs, and liquidity needs. And the optimization across all the structure is a mission critical application within investment banks. And we looked at this, based on real data, looked at the classical requirements and penalties, and then developed the quantum algorithm, deployed it on our machine, and actually the result was that we can achieve 6 basis points performance improvement, and the 6 basis points in relation to the size of the collateral portfolio in that case was 400 billion. So that translates actually really in a 120 million euro recurring annual P&L cost saving for that investment bank, just by migrating that one use case, collateral portfolio optimization, into the quantum space. And actually this is something we can implement end to end, and it is something, you know, which is there today. So that's I think a great example of quantum is now. You can actually realize substantial business advantages if you go into the quantum space today. And that was one case out of the investment banking industry. And then there's one other project which we do. That is a system, actually an integrated system, a composition of a hybrid neural network and some hardware, which we use for high frequency trading. So it's based on fast evolving processes. And if you look into this, actually currency trading is such a fast evolving process. You have enough liquidity in the market, so e.g. euro, US dollar exchange. And that system can actually support high frequency traders in euro, US dollar exchange. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, when I look at your website, I see 2 people on it. I see the management team. I'm wondering how many employees you have in the company.
Yeah, so actually we currently have around 80 employees, and the management team. So my partner is and the co-CTO is Professor Vinukur. He's based in Chicago. So actually we also, you know, jumped over the Atlantic. Now we are an active player in the European ecosystem, based in Switzerland. We just founded a subsidiary in Germany, and kind of working a lot with European large corporates. But the US, we also want to be there. It's a vital space in the quantum industry. And Professor Vinukur is based in Chicago. He was 30 years with Argonne National Lab. Yeah, very happy to have him on board, which, by the way, is a great sign also, because I think we saw that also with some other emerging quantum tech players, that real senior capacity is moving into the space, right? And is deciding to leave academia or large corporates and enter into quantum startups or scale-ups. And I think that is a very promising signal that these, you know, heavy hitters in the quantum space actually come on board of these quantum tech companies.
That is really important. And I think certainly having high-powered scientists on your team is really critical overall for the success. So that's awesome. Now, it's interesting that you're in Europe, you're in Switzerland, you're in Germany, you're in the US. Can you talk a little bit about the European investors versus US investors, and, you know, what it's like to get money for a startup in the different communities?
Yeah. So, and I know that, you know, this question is asked from an expert as well in that space. If I look into your history, it's of course very remarkable journeys from you and also the companies, the quantum companies you're engaged with. So that's really remarkable. And it's, from a European perspective, I mean, Europe is a great market. I think we have a great science landscape. Yeah, so great universities, great pools of talent to work with, and that is of course also one kind of entry barrier, right? To get access to great talent. It's the scarcity of talent. Besides, I think the IP for me is the two most important entry barriers for stakeholders to enter the space, right? And talent is one, and therefore I'm very happy to have composed a great team across Europe, and I also think that the venture capital industry, is kind of growing up and living up to the importance of quantum. I mean, we have a great lead investor, which is Lakestar. Lakestar is one of the biggest European tech venture capital companies. But if you look over the Atlantic, of course, the dynamic, the breadth and depths of the venture capital industry is massive, right? And I think we see more and more interest, into the quantum space. And last but not least, I mean, what we do, our products are global products, right? I mean, you don't have to adopt them if you sell them in Europe or in the US. And therefore, I think you have to be also in that large market, North America. And that's why we decided actually also to start our footprint there.
Okay, well, thank you. I am going to hand it back over to André. So André, it's all yours. Very nice to meet you, Markus.
Nice to meet you, Denise. Thank you very much.
6 basis points in the world of finance. That's like Commodore 64 to the new iMac in classical computing. Congratulations on that, Markus and team. Let's wrap up with our little more philosophical, personal 6-question rapid-fire questionnaire and see a little bit more where your heart and soul is at when it comes to quantum and startups. So if you're ready, let's start with our first question. Who, Markus, is your favorite scientist?
Who? That's a good question. I mean, there's such amazing people out there, right? I mean, I would have so many names in my head, actually. Can I pick one? Then I'd say Nikola Tesla.
And since you combine both sides of this coin, who is your favorite entrepreneur?
I assume I can also only say one name, right? Because there is a great crowd out there. But I'd really say Elon Musk. I think it's so impressive what he does in such a short amount of time. So many companies and making them kind of world leaders in their segment. It's amazing.
But you're not on Twitter, and I like that. What is the quality that you desire most in an entrepreneur and/or scientist?
I think it's passion. I think you have to love what you do, yeah, and you have to be passionate about what you do. And I experience that now as an entrepreneur. If the company grows up and you have kind of 80 people, there is more and more also administrative stuff which comes up. You have to keep your degree of freedom to stay kind of in the creative flow, that you are not kind of bound by stuff which you are not so passionate about. Yeah, so therefore, passion, I think, is the enabler to kind of creativity and doing great things.
And you're clearly passionate about quantum technologies, but what is it about quantum that excites you so much?
I mean, of course, we all know kind of the great potential it has in applications in industries, yeah, to deliver great business advantage. But my main motivation is actually kind of the philosophical foundation of quantum physics. Yeah, that's also what originally brought me into the space. That's why I studied theoretical physics, actually, because I was so impressed by wave-particle dualism, superposition, entanglement, and what that does really mean for our day-to-day lives, of our view on the world, right? I think those fundamental principles haven't yet been fully understood. At least I think mankind is not taking the right lessons out of this. So that's what I think is the most interesting about quantum.
So taking this more human view of quantum, what is your quantum dream and your quantum nightmare?
My quantum dream actually is, and I could talk now a lot about revolutionary applications again, you know, very accelerated quantum enhanced pharma research, or it's solving some optimization problems which, you know, makes things much quicker. And so, but I think it's really, we open up the door for some innovation which we don't know where it leads to. It's so exciting, actually. You know, we are working, another project is on quantum chatbots. You know, we'll have quantum computers which very soon pass the Turing test. Yeah. And so we'll face philosophical questions and debates. You know, what really is the difference between man and machine? Will quantum computing lead to strong AI? Stuff like this. This is kind of my dream, that we are in such an innovative phase now, entering it, and the next decades will be, I think we will see amazing innovation. So that's kind of why I love that space. And what's my kind of nightmare, quantum nightmare? Well, you know, if somebody owns it and the other side, you know, doesn't have it, you know, you could control people's life massively with it. Yeah, kind of in terms of we have some image recognition algorithm or quantum which works better. Also, the quantum cryptography, you know, if players can hack into your communication. But I think we have to work with it. We have to live with it. We have to make the world really quantum safe. And we can, you know, once you are quantum safe, you are safe, and even a true universal quantum can't break in. So I think that's what we have to work on. And that's actually also what drives me in my work in quantum cryptography, to actually provide solutions which are truly quantum safe, which bring back kind of secure individual communication.
And a final question, imagine we get there, tomorrow you wake up to this famous universal fault-tolerant quantum computer in your living room. Who would you give it to? It's the only one in the world.
Well, I would share it, or can't we share it? I mean, one of the mottos of CERN, where I worked, and which is another alma mater, is science for peace, right? I mean, I think we have to be, I think we have to overcome this kind of geopolitical debate about this. We have to work together. It's will be a great tool for mankind. Mankind will drive great innovations. Let's use it all together. Yeah, let's make it a world project for mankind. So I would share it.
It takes business, finance, physics, and much more to build a quantum world, and big dreams and big ambition. I think that is very clear from speaking to you today, Markus, and the message behind Terra Quantum and your beautiful logo in the background. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from overseas. And thank you to INQ, our sponsor, and Dennis Ruffner. This concludes Season 4, Episode 4 of the Weekly Quantum World Detangled, and you are now detangled.